Thank you. Very good afternoon to all. As ma'am said, today we are going to learn about subcutaneous infusion. So we are familiar with subcutaneous injection, not familiar with subcutaneous injections in palliative care. This is one of the major nursing issues, the subcutaneous infusion. We usually suggest subcutaneous infusion during, especially during end of life care and some conditions. This you need to learn what is subcutaneous infusion and what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages and all. So today this session will be taken by Mr. Sarjan, who was our last week faculty, and welcome back and out to you, Sarjan.
Once again, good afternoon to all. I'm once again introducing myself. I am Sarjan BS from Inpatient Department. As we are all know, today's topic, we are going to discuss about one of the main topic having the important role in our palliative care. Okay, directly before directly going to the topic, let me get your answer. Mainly, we classifying two types of routes of administrations are there. Can anybody answer?
So please put your answer in the chat box.
I am expecting your responses.
Punitha Lakshmi ma'am said IM and IV. Any other routes?
You are right, ma'am. But actually, we classifying as like main categorization two. IM and IV, it's correct, but it's under one category. Main category is two. Mainly the routes of administration of medication, we classifying into two, parental route and non-parental route. Parental route means what? Some example anybody can say? And non-parental route means what? For that also I am expecting your reply.
Please respond to his questions. Please put your answer in the chat box. Ma'am, want to say something?
Parental is by using injection needles.
Right, ma'am.
Non-parental, we doesn't need the injection route, sir. By oral and other things, we used to do it.
Mainly, we are having mainly two types of routes of administrations are there, parental and non-parental. I already mentioned our one IM and IV. As like subcutaneous, everything is under the parenteral route. Parenteral route means by pricking of a needle, we administering the medicine to one person. That is the parenteral route. Non-parenteral route means it's under some examples we can say as like oral route, rectal route, and sublingual. Everything is under the non-parenteral route. Today we going to discuss about the subcutaneous infusion. Subcutaneous infusion or subcutaneous injection is under the parenteral route of administration. Before going to the next slide, we just generally I am just making aware about the skin layers. I think everybody very much know about this, but just I am saying our subcutaneous layer is seeing second one layer below the dermis layer. In a third layer, muscle layer. In between the dermis layer, simply we can say like this only. In between dermis layer and muscle layer, the subcutaneous layer we can see. On this subcutaneous layer only, we are injecting or we are administering the medicine. That's the main topic, subcutaneous injection or subcutaneous infusion. Then definition wise, anybody can say subcutaneous infusion or hypodermoclysis. What do you mean by hypodermoclysis? Have anybody heard about hypodermoclysis, that term? Hypodermoclysis means just split that term into three. We will get the meaning from the after the splitting of the term. Hypo plus dermo plus clysis. Hypo means below, dermo means dermis layer, clysis means administration. Administration of medications below the dermis layer. That means the subcutaneous layer. That is the subcutaneous infusion or subcutaneous administration. Mainly we can rehydrate for the rehydration, mainly small volume or the large volume for rehydrating as like infusion or any bolus injection. Small volume like bolus injections we can give by subcutaneously. Hypodermoclysis, which can also be called interstitial infusion or subcutaneous infusion of isotonic fluids. Subcutaneous space for the rehydration or for the prevention of dehydration is small volume or the large volume. Then next we moving to mainly in palliative care, in which conditions we mainly giving the subcutaneous injection or subcutaneous infusion. Mainly if the patient having dehydration, if we see on patient like dehydrated, in that state, if mild or mild to moderate dehydrated patient means for the rehydration, we can give infusions through the subcutaneously. But if moderate to severe or in severe dehydrated cases, we cannot choose the subcutaneous route for the dehydration. Then if the patient having severe dysphagia or swallowing difficulty, as like even a sips of water intake also very much distressing for the patient according to the disease condition. If the patient having dysphagia and swallowing difficulty, we cannot give anything by orally for improving their quality of life or for the symptomatic management. In such a situation also, we can give anything need to give by subcutaneously. Then if we are planning to give for rehydration, any drip as like infusion for a patient within 24 hours or 1 day, within 3 liter we are planning to give means we can give by subcutaneously. That means 6 pint fluid or 3 liter we can give within 1 day for the patient by subcutaneously. Why the subcutaneous infusion is very much important in our palliative care? In such following detailed conditions, we can give subcutaneously, mainly in palliative care. First one, if we meeting one patient is having severe nausea and vomiting according to the disease condition or because of the prognosis, having the nausea and vomiting. In such a condition, we cannot ensure the patient is taking anything by orally, or it will make more distress for the patient. For the symptom management also, any medications need to give, we cannot give by oral form. For the rehydration also, we cannot improve the oral intake because of the nausea and vomiting. In such conditions, for the rehydration and for the symptomatic management, we can give everything by subcutaneously. Then if the patient having mouth ulcer or any throat area or esophageal lesions, if the patient having means, patient will refuse to take anything by orally, it's medicine or food item. In such condition also, for administration, we can choose the subcutaneous route. Then mainly the intestinal obstructions we can expecting, mainly a majority of the gastrointestinal related cancerous condition due to the disease prognosis or the disease progression condition, we can expect the intestinal obstruction according to the metastasis base or the direct disease progression. In such conditions, everything we are giving by orally means if patient could swallow, but it will not help the patient physiologically or the symptomatic management. In such condition also, for giving medicine or improving the quality of life, we can give by subcutaneously. Then unconscious patient. If we seeing one patient is unconscious, according to the disease condition, progressive also, as like end of life. In such condition also, patient cannot respond about his distress. As example, like pain or anything, he cannot express his distress, but he need the medicine. In such conditions, by injection form, we can give by subcutaneously. Then for not much improving the quality of life, at least maintaining the quality of life. If anything, we need to rehydrate, as like rehydration, we can as maintenance dose, we can give the infusion by subcutaneously. Next one, if one patient we meeting, that patient having very much pain, we just noticing severe pain, as like pain score like 8/10 or 10/10, severe pain patient is having. In such condition, patient was crying due to the pain. Such condition, we choosing example tab morphine means it will not the appropriate selection in such condition. Such situation is totally inappropriate. That time we need to give injection form of medicines only will help him to get the relief as fast as possible. In such condition also, we can give the injection form by subcutaneous. One example also, if the patient is having severely restlessness due to the delirium, example, brain metastasis condition also, patient is very much delirious, aggressive, restlessness. In such condition also, we choosing example injection tab haloperidol means it's totally inappropriate. It will not help him. Such condition also, we need to give the injection form for making rest the patient. That is, in these situations, we can give injection form by subcutaneously. Oral form and other routes are inappropriate in such conditions. Then in non-parental route, oral route, if not possible means we can give the medicines by rectal route. Mainly example, tab morphine we can give orally, and if the oral route is inappropriate means we can give rectally. We just practicing like that, and we can advise to the patient caregiver also for continuing that. But in certain conditions, rectal route is totally inappropriate. Example, patient is having spurious diarrhea or loose stool or any other indicated conditions like hemorrhoid or piles, then other rectal bleeding conditions. In such these conditions, we cannot give the medication by rectal route. It's totally inappropriate. We need to give by injection form through the subcutaneous route. Then we moving to the sites. Common sites we using to give the subcutaneous injections or subcutaneous infusions. First one, upper chest area. Upper chest area means these are the upper chest or intercostal plane. This area is the first area. Next one, upper arm or outer aspect. Outer aspect of upper arm, then abdomen, then outer thigh or lateral aspect of thigh, then upper back, upper quadrant of both buttocks, that's the upper back, then scapular area. In this picture showing clearly, these are all the lateral aspect of forearm, lateral aspect or outer aspect or lateral aspect of both the thigh, around the umbilicus region. This one is the scapular region. This area is the outer quadrant of the both buttocks. These are all the areas we can give the injection and infusion through subcutaneously. Commonly we using upper arm or outer aspect of forearm, then outer or lateral aspect of thigh. This region we commonly using for giving subcutaneous injection. But if these areas is contraindicated or if we cannot choose the sites according to the situation, we can select other portions also. Mainly we need to care about one area, upper chest or intercostal plane. If we are choosing this area for the female patient, means we need to ensure it's not including in the breast tissues. If we pricking and giving in breast tissues, means it will harm the tissues. So this area we need to more careful about that. Then which are all the areas we cannot give the subcutaneous injections? First one, if we noticing one patient having lymphedema, example, see a breast patient, right side or left side, affected side, having lymphedema, it's very common. We already know that lymphedema affected arm, forearm or our hind arm. We need to avoid that area for the subcutaneous injection. Then if the patient going to select that site if having any recently eradicated skin, like the area we just noticing, means we need to avoid that. Then bony prominence, nearest area to the joints, then skin foldings, then any inflammation or infected signs we just seeing on the area, then any like that skin irritation area, means we need to avoid. Then if we choosing the around the umbilical area for the subcutaneous injection, already the patient having ascites or any pitting edema, means we need to avoid that area because it will not help to absorb the fluid in that area. Then tumor mass or scarring, anything we just seeing, means we need to avoid that areas for the subcutaneous injection or for subcutaneous infusions. Then we moving to some of the medications which we can give by subcutaneously. Now I would like to ask, anybody can answer some of the examples in your experience, some of the examples of medications we can give by subcutaneously.
Please put your answer in the chat box. He's asking, so what are the medications which we can give through injection, through subcutaneously? Injection. He is asking about injections. What are the medications you can give subcutaneously? So injection morphine. What is Mgraft? MSET? Yeah. So what is that? Injection Mgraft.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes. What's that?
Yes, we used to give it as a post chemo injection.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Heparin. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you.
Thank you for your responses. Some of the medicines I just mentioned here, we can give by subcutaneously. First one, commonly using injection morphine, injection haloperidol, midazolam, metoclopramide or Perinom, hyoscine butyl bromide or Buscopan, injection fentanyl. These are all the common medicines we can give subcutaneously in our practices. Studies are going on. Some more medicines are proving to give by subcutaneously, but commonly we practicing this much drugs. These are all the some examples. These are all the some medicines we cannot give by subcutaneously. Examples are injection prochlorperazine or Stemetil, injection diazepam, and antibiotics. These are all the some medicines, category medicines we cannot give by subcutaneously. Anything you can add in your idea? Any medicines which we cannot give by subcutaneously, as like anybody can add means? Then we moving to the procedure. As like every procedure, this one also we need to explain the procedure to the patient, because in our experience, first of all, they visiting in our palliative care. After that, subcutaneous injection and subcutaneous infusion are all mainly new experience for them, because they already know intravenous route, intramuscular route, everything they very much familiar about that. But in subcutaneous route is totally unknown for them. So we need to explain the procedure to the patient. Then proper hand washing. We need to arrange the every articles, because we going to give on injection or infusion. So we need to, if we are giving infusion or as like drip means, we need to assemble the fluid, selected fluid according to the doctor's order, adequate tubings, then adequate site, which are all the, which site we going to prick means we need to select the site. Then antiseptic solution soaked swab we can use for cleaning the area. How we are cleaning the area, everybody that knows about that, using a circular motion from center to outward direction we need to clean. After that we leave for some seconds for drying. After the cleaning, don't touch the prepared site with bare hands. Then insert needle mainly we using SV set or butterfly cannula or scan vein set, that commonly using for pricking the site. While pricking on needle tip bevel region, bevel means as like that area as like cross section, that bevel opening, that bevel upright position we need to keep and insert on that side. Then subcutaneous tissue, after the selecting the subcutaneous tissue, we need to prick the area 30 to 45-degree angle. Then secure the SV set or butterfly cannula and tubing with adequate occlusive dressing or adhesive plaster we can use for fixing on that area. Then adjust the fluid drip rate as prescribed by the doctors.
Now we can watch a video on how to put a subcutaneous infusion. So after that, I will move on to the next part.
Subcutaneous infusion of fluids or hypodermoclysis. Mr. Mahesh has advanced cancer of pancreas. Mrs. Lakshmi.
As like every infusion rate and setting, for the subcutaneous infusion also, we are having set of volume and rate setting also. We can already we know 1 ml means 20 drops. In subcutaneous infusion, we can give in one site 1.5 liter or 3 pint of fluid we can give within 24 hours. Maximum 1.5 liter or 3 pint of fluid we can give within 24 hours. We can choose one site also. As like both of two sites, total 3 liter or 6 pint of fluid we can give maximum within 24 hours. Maximum 2 sites only we can choose. As like every procedure, after this procedure also, we need to ensure some points. Do not set the drip rate, deliver more than 1 liter in 2 hours. After the starting of the subcutaneous infusion, within 2 hours, never cross 1 liter or 2 pint. We need to ensure about that. As like every drug charting also, we need to document the infusion fluid name in medication chart and check the patient after starting the subcutaneous infusion. After 1 hour, we need to ensure that that infusion site is proper. There is having no signs of edema or leakage or any distress patient is complaining, that we need to ensure about that. Any complaint we feeling means we need to change the site. If we noticing on edema on the pricked site, mild edema is very common. We need to explain to the patient, because after collecting on that subcutaneous tissue only, it's absorbing slowly. So mild enema is normal, but mild to moderate enema, we just feeling on that area means gentle massage we can give and subside the edema. If not subsiding, we need to think about other steps. For the subcutaneous infusion, some advantages is there. Major advantages are comparatively IV cannula. For the subcutaneous infusion, we mentioned SV set or butterfly cannula we using. Comparatively with IV cannula, this SV set or butterfly cannula is low cost only. Then IV administration is much more distressing for the patient. The subcutaneous infusion or subcutaneous injection is much more comfortable than IV administration, both for the patient and the staff also. Then IV administration cause in some such situations may cause pulmonary edema or fluid overload will happen, because through the IV route we introducing the medicine means it's directly involving in the circulatory system. So pulmonary edema or fluid overload will happen if the patient body is totally unable to absorb the fluid. In subcutaneous route, it will not happen because direct circulatory involvement is not there. Then easier insertion and reinsertion also for the subcutaneous route, because in IV route means we need help of others, or we need to tightly tie the area by using a tourniquet or any other thing for tighten, for getting the IV patency. After that only, after sometimes distressing only, we can put the IV cannula. But in subcutaneous route, like that distressing steps are all not there. We can simply insert the subcu site by using butterfly cannula or SV set. In home care setting also, it's more suitable than the IV cannula. If in home care, if we need to start anything by subcutaneously means, if any practice the person is in their home setting means they can give by intravenously. But it's in very common people means they cannot give by intravenously. For the common people also, we can educate them by simply manner how to insert the subcu needle and how we can give the injection by subcutaneously. We can explain everything very much easier for us also. For understanding is also very much easier for the home care setting, the family members. Then it will not cause any thrombophlebitis like complications. In IV route means it's rare, also means it's common. Thrombophlebitis, that condition will not happen because of the non-involvement of the circulatory system. Then any septicemia or systemic infection will happen in the condition of IV cannulation, because any microorganism will entering into through the pricked site into the circulatory system means it will happen the complications like systemic infections, but non-involvement leads this subcutaneous infusion. There is no complication, chance of complications like systemic infection. Then if we put on IV cannula for one patient, just we given only one bolus of injection for the symptom management or that situation. After that, maybe after 12 hours or after 20 hours or next day only, we are giving another bolus of injection. In between this time, due to the clot formation, will block the IV cannula. We cannot give by IV because of losing of patency. But in subcutaneous route means if us like same only today morning we given on injection, tomorrow morning only we are next going to give, but it will not affect the for giving the injection. We can give at any time through the subcutaneous route. No danger for the clot formation. We cannot think like that. As like advantages, some very rare disadvantages also. Possibility for the irritation, skin irritation for that area or any inflammation signs will arise on the infusion site or injection site. Then if the patient having the subcu site not adequate absorption ability, that tissue means it will possibility for the leakage of subcutaneous site. It's very rare case only. This one is the next disadvantage. Then rare also, some patients having the allergic reaction on that area because of not only because of the subcu site or subcu injection. We using the occlusive dressing or adhesive dressing we using for fixing the butterfly cannula or SV set for the subcutaneous injection. That material is allergic to some persons. We having some experiences like that. Such in these conditions will affect us the disadvantages. Then some side effects or complications just mentioning here. First one is the localized edema. Already we mentioned some mild edema we can expect on that area. It will subside after some time. But if not subsiding means only will get the problem. Edema around the site, explanation only I am saying. Edema around the site of insertion of the subcutaneous infusion device. Usually after a spontaneous massage, it will subside. It's not subsiding means we need to change the site. Next one is the inflammation or cellulitis sign on that area. Poor insertion technique. Already we mentioned as like circular manner, antiseptic solution, soap, sponge, cotton ball we using for cleaning that area. After cleaning, let the area for dry. Don't touch with bare hand. If not happening like this, poor technique for the insertion, it may cause the inflammation or the cellulitis. Then pain or discomfort. If the patient having pain or discomfort on the pricked area, it's rare because already we mentioned the rate of the infusion. Maximum 20 drops or 1 ml per minute only we can give. That's the maximum rate for the infusion. If that rate is more means it may cause the pain. We need to ensure about that. If like that means we need to reduce the infusion rate. Then after the puncturing the site, if we noticing any blood content on the tubing, as we said tubing means, it's also rare. In like that, we just seeing means we need to remove the area. We need to change the area, select to another area. Then hematoma around the insertion site. It's also very rare. If the patient on treatment like receiving anticoagulant therapy or low platelet count is patient affecting means, in that conditions, pricked site having the insertion site having the hematoma formation. It's also very rare. If like that also, we need to change the area. Then infusion device having occlusion. It's also very rare. If the tubing is having the kingling means only it will happen. We need to ensure about that. We need to refix the tubings along with the, as we said, we need to refix that tubing. It will resolve. Then as a nurse, what are all our responsibilities after the subcutaneous insertion? Every 4 hourly, we need to inspect these following things. First one, we need to touch the area. We need to assess having tenderness or any hardness feeling on the site. We need to inspect on that. Then already mentioned any hematoma formation presence is there or not. Insertion site having any leakage or not. Then that local tissue irritation is having or not. Then redness or erythema formation is there or not. Then presence of blood in the tubing, as we said, tubing is having or not. Then knowingly or unknowingly, any displacement of butterfly cannula on the pricked site. These are all the things we need to inspect every 4th hourly. We need to ensure about that. Anything we noticing means we need to change the area. Next one, syringe driver. Syringe driver means as like syringe pump or infusion pump. This is a mini device, small size device we can use for the subcutaneous infusion. Not as like drip. For any injection form, we need to give continuous infusion over for an hour means. Hour means we can give by syringe driver. Syringe driver is a small portable battery used driver only or infusion pump, can use for give medications intravenously or subcutaneously by a syringe, usually over 24 hours, maximum 24 hours. Within that also we can set in the syringe driver. This picture showing the syringe driver. This is the mini syringe pump, mini form of syringe pump or infusion pump. This is the battery using device. Commonly in our setting, we using this for giving the continuous injections.
Seen this.
Anybody have seen this in your experience? Can you share?
No. Anybody? So, no. Yeah, we usually have seen syringe pump in our settings. A syringe driver you usually use in palliative care. This is the portable machines. The patient is not able to restrain. They're restricted in bed. They are able to walk with if the continuous infusion is going on there, then this is a portable machine, so they can able to walk.
Mainly in our palliative care setting, we never restricting the patient's activity because of any treatment modality. If you are giving continuous infusion for the patient by a syringe pump or infusion pump means we need to restrict the movements for the patient. They cannot move from the bed. Like that, steps we not following in our palliative care setting. If the patient is able means they can do their activity without any restrictions. So this syringe driver is very much helpful for the patient. They can carry this syringe driver or this mini syringe pump. This device they can carry and they can do any activity. Even bathing also they can do while carrying this syringe driver. It's very much helpful for them. This one is the 24-hour setting syringe driver. This syringe driver we can set minimum 24-hour to maximum 24-hour, then 48 hours, 72 hours as like. Previous shown syringe driver maximum 24-hour. Per hour setting maximum 24-hour we can set. This syringe driver minimum 24-hour to maximum. These are all the parts just mentioned here. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, Sajjan, for the excellent presentation. If anybody having any doubts, please ask.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, actually, I want to ask one question. Like
Yes.
we use IV cannula like that, no? So we know that the IV cannula is on the side, like when the backflow of the blood will come. But in butterfly cannula, how will we know that the needle is on the side?
Anu, can you please repeat the question?
Hello, ma'am. You hear me, ma'am?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Like I just want to ask, like suppose when we insert this butterfly cannula subcutaneous, how we know that the butterfly cannula is on the position?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So anybody want to answer that question? After insertion, how will we know the needle is going directly to the subcutaneous site or not? That is your question, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Anybody want to answer that question?
Actually, when we are withdrawing, the blood will not be there. That is one point. Then the angle, if we are using exactly 30 to 45 degrees, is 23 classes.
Yeah. No. So, as ma'am said, when we introduce needle into the subcutaneous tissue, we usually use a 45-degree angle. So after insertion, so if you introduce fluid, if the needle are going to the dermis space, definitely if we insert in that the flowing insertion time is very painful. Otherwise, it's much painful. It's not much painful. That is the one thing we are able to find out. And the next thing is that tip of the needle. If you touch the top of the hand, that after insertion, you won't feel the tip of the needle in your hand. So that if the needle is going to the intradermal space, you can able to feel the tip of the needle. That is the two things we can able to find out whether that needle is going to directly on the subcutaneous tissues. So usually, if you start fluid, the patients will get more painful. That is the main thing that we able to find out. So in my 18 years of experience, I don't have any experience on that intradermal space insertions. If you introduce needle into the subcutaneous space, definitely that directly to the it's going to the direct subcutaneous space. So you can when we introduce, you can take a 45-degree angle. Thank you. Thank you for asking that question.
Thank you.
Project. So Pramila said, can you show that video once again? Shows that video. So I'll show you once again. What about others? You want to see the video again? Okay, yes, we will show you. Yeah. Ashwin, so I read your question. So you can able to give intravenous infusion, but the thing is, usually when the patients come to palliative after chemo or radiation, the venous the lines are thrombused. So that time we will give more. If we give intravenous infusion or intravenous injection, you can give more pricks, multiple pricks. We can able to why we preferring subcutaneous infusion in palliative care is we can avoid multiple pricks. That is one reason. So if the vein route, the venous roots are visible, you can easily get vein. You can able to give intravenous route, or you can give intravenous route also. But the thing is, sometimes we need to give more pricks that we can avoid. Any other questions? So we don't have a patient story today. We have received a patient story, but that is not relevant to today's presentations. So today we don't have a patient story. If you have any doubts regarding the topics, you can ask. So I think all of you are clear about subcutaneous infusions. Sergeant was explaining completely about subcutaneous infusions. We understand that what is subcutaneous infusion. So the other name of subcutaneous infusion is hypodermoclysis. And what are the advantages? This is good that method for usually in palliative care. This is the and the next thing is we learned about the disadvantages also and amounts. What the type of that I don't know what type of fluids we can able to give. He was mentioned during the presentations. Usually we give a normal saline. But in some institutions, dextrose normal saline and ringer lactate solutions also given through subcutaneous infusions. And usually we prefer normal saline through subcutaneous infusion. So you can able to give 1 ml per minute, maximum 1.5 liter in on site. If you give more than 1.5 liter in one day, you can choose 2 sites. You can choose multiple sites for infusions. Okay, so these are the major points which we have learned today from the presentations. So if you don't have any question, we can wind up the today's sessions. Thank you all for joining in for today's class. Thank you, Sergeant, for the excellent presentations. Thank you once again. We'll see you next week.
Thank you all. Kindly please send your feedbacks. The link is provided in your WhatsApp group. And thank you once again. Thank you, Sergeant Sir, and thank you, Shiva ma'am, for this wonderful class. And let's wind up this, and thank you once again.